What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Jerome, and I'm coming to you tonight with a review for Love and Hip Hop New York. This is season number 9. This is episode 7, and it's titled Hard Choices. So, without further ado, let's get started with the video. And I'm so sorry if you guys can hear hammering, what sounds like sawing. It's almost 10:30 here at night, and my neighbor is just woke me up to some hammering and sawing, and then his dog is barking. So yeah, forgive me for that. But like I said, without further ado, let's start with the video. All right, so we're gonna start with where the episode started out. So we had Old Man Joe in the shoe. He and Remy are on the set of their show that he has, which I watched. I watched a few episodes of State of the Culture, where actually I've caught clips of this show where he just talking about things going on in the culture. And in this one, he was talking about Eminem's album, which somebody sounds a little salty about the album. So then they finished filming, and he's talking to Remy, and he's telling Remy what's going on between him and Sin. And he's talking about how Sin, he feels like Sin has postpartum depression. What else? Yeah, postpartum depression. And so the whole thing with Old Man Joe in the shoe is he's more focused on work and whatnot when it comes to their relationship. And I guess he wants Remy to sit down and have a conversation with her. But, my whole thing is Remy is not a doctor, so she can't, she can sit down and have a conversation with her, but there's really not much that Remy can say to Sin at this point because, like I said, she's not a doctor or, anybody that is licensed to tell Sin what's going on with her. And I think Joe, he needs to get to the point where he says, you know what, let me get my woman some help. Let me, have her sit down with this doctor, this psychiatrist, this therapist, just whatever. But, again, like I said, Joe is more focused on his work. And I'm not even going to say he's more focused on his work. I think he's so consumed with his work that he's not realizing that, he is actually neglecting Sin and what she made and, what she's going through. So, I can see both sides, to be quite honest with you. But I feel like Joe needs to sit down and have a conversation with Sin himself, figure out what's going on with her, other than that one-sided conversation that they had last week. So then we have Sin. She does meet up with Remy, and they're talking, and Sin just talking about what she wants. She wants a family, she wants more kids, and I think they had little Remington, what is his name? Lexington. I think they had him before they planned on having kids, because I think they had a timeline, but they did not follow that timeline, unfortunately. Why is this fool hammering? Like, you can hear that shit. And then Remy says that she and Pap, they go through they go through their stuff as well. She was in prison, and they had to abide by so many rules. When it came to certain things, if she was in trouble, like they couldn't have sex and whatnot. And, like I said, her and Pap have been through their fair share of things. And then also Remy does say, when it comes to, because, when it comes down to it, why? Sin, she's not the same Sin that Joe once Joe fell in love with, just like Joe is not the same Joe that Sin fell in love with. And she tells them, why don't you guys just get a nanny, and at least once a week, just do something that's for you and Joe that doesn't involve the baby, and y'all get a nanny. But Sin doesn't want to get a nanny, and I can't say that I blame Sin because of the stuff that you see going on, where these nannies are abusing these kids. And if I agree with what Sin said, if somebody fucks with my child, that's it, I'm gonna fuck you up, and it's on site. So then after Sin talked to Remy, she goes back and talks to Joe, and she's telling she's basically just repeating what Remy said to her. She's like, she wants to have a day where they just unplug the phone, turn the phone off, a Sunday every 2 weeks or so, and they just had, spend time with each other. And then Joe's like, this is not what I wanted you to sit down with Remy for. I wanted you to sit down with her to talk about the postpartum depression. And like I said, Remy is not a doctor, so there's not really much that Remy can tell her about the postpartum depression. That is something that Sin has to sit down with a doctor and discuss. And Sam feels like when it comes to her postpartum depression that she is, managing in it. And I'm like, I understand. I understood what Joe was saying about, her managing it, because she's talking about she's doing her music and she's doing this and this and that, but that's not necessarily managing it. You feel like you have good control of it, but you don't. You need to reach out to someone that can, diagnose you, prescribe you medication if needed, or what, just tell you certain things that you need to do to, fix the situation. So, like I said, Joe wants her to do it, but Sin just feels like, she has it under control, which I don't know I don't know what to say on that one. Because I feel bad because they're both affected by it. And I hope, I'm hoping now Sin has gotten that stuff under control. All right, so next we got Yandy. So we see Yandy with her kids. Were they at the park? They were somewhere. I didn't really catch where her and her kids were, but they had this young girl who's a foster kid to her, which this all has kind of played out in the blogs. So the young girl's name is Infinity, and like I said, she's in a foster care system. So Yandy has taken a liking to her, and the girl has taken a liking to Yandy because of Yandy's mentorship program that she has. So like I said, the girl has is bonded with Yandy and her kids. Why is this? Who the fuck does something like this at 10 o'clock at night? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, the fuck? Back to the show. Sorry, y'all. So Yandy tells, I guess the girl had ran away from her foster family, which is technically the state. But she ran away, and she called Yandy before she even did anything. So Yandy is taking this girl in, and she's telling her kids that what, Infinity is coming home and stay with us for the night. So then we see this thing where Jonathan goes over to Yandy's house, and Infinity was there, and then Yandy just telling Jonathan everything that's going on with Infinity, and Jonathan's like, I'm not a legal person or anything, and I'm not somebody who knows anything about adoption, foster care or anything like that. But he said, I believe that this is illegal because, she is a minor and you have her in your house without, supervision, well, not supervision, but without approval from, her legal guardian, who happens to be the state. So, then we see this other thing with Yandy. She's in this, in New York, in the city, and she's bicycling with it was Maggie, and she was with Nia Lee of all people, which I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let Mona have this one, her bicycling with Nia Lee. So she's just telling them about the issues with Infinity. And she says she don't know what's the right step to take, because she says she did try to reach out to, there's a lawyer involved, her Infinity's caseworker, and I think she said her lawyer or somebody wasn't gonna be back until the following week. So she just she wasn't hearing from anybody, and she just didn't know what to do. And she also found out that by her having her, if she keeps her, that the CPS can come in and take her kids from her, and Yandy's just not sure what to do. And then Maggie tells us about her story, that when her mom died, she was in a foster care system, and same thing with her. Her friends and parents let her come stay with them, but eventually the system found her and they were trying to take her back, but she just eventually ran away to someone else. And I just feel bad all the way around, because if this girl is in a foster care system and she's unhappy or she's been mistreated, like, you don't want a kid to be in an environment like that. So my heart definitely went out to her for that. And then we saw this scene where Yandy was in her house, and she was going to tell Infinity that she was gonna have to take her back, and like my heart kind of broke for her because I get where Yandy's coming from. Those are she has her kids, and by keeping this girl, she puts her kids in danger of being taken as well. But she just doesn't want to take this girl back and put her in the system. And that's what the girl asked her. You put me back in the system. She's like, in a nutshell, the girl just wants a forever home. Like, she just wants to have a mother and a father, brothers and sisters who love her. And she just broke down and started crying. And I was like, oh, that did tug at my heartstrings so much, because I sympathize with her, and I actually sympathize with Yandy, despite the fact what I feel about Yandy. I did sympathize with her, and Yandy told her, what, you are loved. My family loves you, and I think to this day Yandy is still still trying to figure out what to do with that situation, because I still think there's a legal battle going on right now as we speak, because I know the last time she was on the Breakfast Club, she did talk about this, and it wasn't finalized at that point. So I don't know where it is right now, but we'll watch this story go throughout the rest of the season. All right, and lastly, you guys, we got Safari. He is meeting up with Jacquay and rubbing pennies. So this episode, he's talking about after his dick leaked all over the internet, how the company reached out to him to do a $1 million deal for a dildo of his dick. And I actually had to agree with Reverend Pennies with what he said about this. I think because, now, me speaking personally, when it comes to Safari and his music, I have not taken Safari and his music seriously at all. And it has nothing to do with, the whole dick pic, the whole sex toy. It don't have nothing to do with that. The reason why I don't take Safari seriously when it comes to the music is because when Safari came on Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, Safari was comedic relief. And, so when I look at Safari, I just see comedy. I don't really think of him as music. I think of him as being someone that's funny, being someone that could possibly be a comedian. Possibly. I use that term. I use comedian with him loosely. So I definitely agree with what Rich Sam had to say. By you doing this toy line, this dildo, that could water down what people think about you with your music, and it could possibly change people's opinions of you, which I don't know. I like I said, I agree with that, because when he came on Love and Hip Hop, I no longer took him seriously as an artist. I just took him as a joke. Hate to say it, because I think he's talented, but just this show alone and the way he comes off on the show is corny and is jokish. So perception is reality. So then we got Jacquay. He's talking about how he gonna link up with Sydney Star. He rewrote the songs for Sydney Star. I'm like, thank goodness that you rewrote that shit, because the shit that she was trying to peddle to us was trash as fuck. And basically he says that if, once he meets up with her, if she still sounds trashy like she did before, he gonna take the song and he gonna give it away. And we have flashbacks to when Rich Dollars took the song from Erica Mena and gave it to Olivia, and we had Safari over there who was cracking up about it. I'm like, well, isn't this funny? That is your now fiance, but you was talking about her then. Like, okay, if you say so, Mona, we're gonna roll with that. All right. So then next we saw Safari. He was meeting up with Remy and Pap. And when he sat down with Remy and Pap, he's talking about how this is gonna be his year for, him having a family and him getting married. Which I guess Mona says, shit, bitch, we can kill two birds with one stone, because like I said, he's engaged to Erica Mena, and a lot of people believe she's pregnant, but they have not fucking revealed that they are pregnant. Like, what the fuck, my nigga? Who the fuck hammers at almost 11 o'clock at night? Like, this shit is ridiculous. So he's talking about this toy line again. Pap is not here for it, because again, Pap basically agreed with what Rich said, that this kind of waters down his music, and it makes people think of him as a porn star, which It's not really a porn star, but I get this, and I get what Pap was saying. And then, Remy was talking to him and asking him about his contract. Did he even read it? This motherfucker did not read the contract. I'm like, so you just gonna sign on a dotted line? You don't know what you signing away? Like, you don't know what you signing away. You're gonna sit here and sign a contract? Like, that's so fucking stupid. I mean, I think what it was Safari saw $1 million deal. You don't know what that $1 million entail. That $1 million could be over the course of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Why the fuck is this person hammering? So you just don't know what the fuck you signed yourself away to. Like, that's ridiculous. Anytime about his people read the contract. Okay, so what your people read the contract? You also need to read the contract so you know what's going on. Like, that's so fucking stupid to me. All right, and then we had this scene where Safari, he goes out to LA. He meets with the toy company. They tell him how much he can stand to make, from the, just a dildo. And then, they talk about putting his, some kind of thing with a harness. I'm like, what? But, speaking of which, has that shit even came out yet? Like, I'm not looking for it, but has his toy line came out? Because I never heard anything else from it after that whole thing happened on the internet. But, whatever. Okay, and then we got Sydney Star. So we see Sydney Star. She's in a studio and she is writing music. I'm like, girl, give it a rest, because we ain't here for it. Nobody gives a fuck about it. Like, let it the fuck go. So then her friend Byron comes into the studio. She's telling him about everything that happened with Jacquay and Rich the last time she was in the studio. She thought she was killing it. You were killing it, but not in the way that you was thinking. It just wasn't that. And then even her friend had to talk some sense into her, tell her, Rich is trying to help you. So, and she's like, well, how is he trying to help me? Well, he's helping you by giving you constructive ass criticism that you can internally take. And that was what he said. Stop taking it so personally. When people give you constructive criticism, they are not giving you constructive criticism to hurt you. Most times people are giving you constructive criticism so that you can say, okay, I hear what you're saying. Let me go back. Let me work on this and figure out, what works for me and what don't work for me. And, take it that way. Constructive criticism is not there to hurt you. It's there to guide you, mentor you. It's there to, just let you know, okay, so this is not right. Let's figure out a way to make it work. But Sydney Star is too sensitive for that bullshit. So then she starts to, so her friend says, she starts to rap for her friend. That shit was just as trash as the first time she was rapping. I'm like, what the fuck, my nigga? Like, shit. You go from worse to worse? And his face even said it. But she gets in her feelings when he tells her what he thinks. And I'm like, well, why do you want to be an artist so badly? Because if you cannot sit here and take if you cannot take the criticism of 3 people, what the fuck like when you put your music out there, and if it's heavily auto-tuned, if it's trash, you got millions and millions of people saying that your shit is trash, and you're gonna be in your feelings about that? Like, what the fuck? Get the fuck out of here, Sydney. Grow some thicker skin. So then we see Sydney. She goes and meets up with Naya. So she's supposed to be doing this artist development, I guess. And I'm like, with Nia Lee of all people? Okay, if you say so. Nia Lee needs some artist development her damn self. The fuck? So, Sydney, so basically this is to give Sydney a makeover, and Sydney feel like, I don't need a makeover. I'm like, I beg to differ. That outfit you got on is a little bit dated and it ain't for you. So, then Sydney, she starts to rap once again for Jacquay and Naya. And it's the same song she did in the studio the last time she was in the studio with Jacquay and Rich. And it sounds worse than it did before. I'm like, what the fuck? And then, she's talking about how they make her nervous and whatnot. And I'm like, Sydney, this is not for you. Music ain't your thing. Let it the fuck go. We don't want to hear it. Like, no. Like, I think it would be good as a host, but as an artist, fuck to the no. Hell to the fuck no. No. But when it comes to Sydney Star and this music thing, like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a damn, and I sure as hell don't give a shit about it. Like, let it go. But that was Love and Hip Hop. Like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys later. And also, I know I do want to do Cartel Crew. I've come up with it in my head. I want to do it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to watch, because I still haven't watched episode 1. I need to watch episode 1, and then I need to watch tonight's episode. And what I'll do is sometime this week I will put both episode 1 and 2 reviews up. I don't know when. It might be toward the end of it. It might be like Thursday or Friday. I just don't know. It's kind of hard with this YouTube schedule that I got, but we're gonna get it together. So like I said, like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to my channel. JB signing off. See you later.